Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel once again. Today we're going to look at our second part of how to bet your opponent with opening traps. Now in this opening traps, we're going to look at 4 different opening. Now the first one, we're going to start with the called the Siberian Trap. And the Siberian Trap is with the black pieces we're going to look at, and which is start with pawn e4, pawn c5, pawn d4, pawn takes d4, pawn c3, pawn takes c3, and knight takes c3. So this opening name is called actually Smith-Morra Gambit, and this trap against the Smith-Morra Gambit. And after that, we're gonna play knight to c6, developing the knight, knight f3, pawn e6, bishop c4, queen c7, and castle king side, followed by knight f6, and let's say queen to a2. Now for this moment, here's the move we are making to progress with the trap. Now the move is knight to g4. Rather, this is a very provocative move because, I guess most of the white player, if they doesn't know, of course, they'll immediately reply back with pawn to h3, and that's the move we are waiting for. Actually, in this position, the best move should have been moving the rook to d1, taking up in the d file immediately, or something like knight to b5 attacks the queen. But if your opponent play h3 and try to kick your knight back, now you can show you the trap. And here comes, can you guess the move? Yes, it's knight to d4. This is a crushing move. We are actually threatening the queen, okay? Not only that, we are actually want to try to capture this knight, exchange the knight, followed by, with the help of the queen, we are able to checkmate on h2. Now in this position, white must surrender the queen. For example, if they try to just save the queen by queen to d1, we're just gonna chop up the knight, and no matter what, next we'll play queen h2 mate. So the best line probably white must give up the queen, and we then capture the queen on e2, and they captured, and followed by queen captures the bishop. It's a completely winning position. Or else they can capture with the bishop also. Now we can play something like h6 and continue the game, and this is a winning game for black. Now coming to the next one is called Fajarowicz trap, and this is also with the black pieces. Now this is also on, once again you can see, with d4 opening, knight f6, c4, pawn e5. Now you're gonna see it is called Budapest Gambit. Now after pawn takes e5, knight e4, the idea behind this e5, just try to disrupt the pawn structure and get a beautiful knight post on the a4 square, where the knight might looking at the f2 square with the idea of bishop c5. Now after knight to e4, knight to f3, and now bishop c5 is quite popular in this land, no, in this position by the way, but d6 is our move in this trap. And after pawn takes d6, bishop takes d6, and now white should be careful here. White could play so many other moves. For example, knight b2 trying to get rid of this knight, or just simply play queen to d4 and attacks the knight and the pawn at the same time. But if white just rather careless and play something like g3 and try to flank into the bishop via the g2 square, then we can show our trump card. And here's the move. Can you guess this? Yes, it's knight takes f2, and with this beautiful sacrifice, we are forking the queen and the rook. And the point is, if king captures a2, you guessed it right, it's bishop takes z3, winning the queen with this discovered check. Now if king takes or pawn takes, doesn't matter, we just win the queen on the spot, and there's a complete winning for black. Now coming back to our third opening trap is called fishing pole trap. Now in fishing pole trap, we can see is on the king's pawn opening. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. Now you're gonna see the rail of this system with the bishop b5. Now after knight f6 castle, once again another provocative move with knight to g4. Yes, the knight is in white's territory, so most of the white will try to kick the knight back with h3. Guess what? No, we're not gonna move the knight from the g4 square. Rather than we're gonna play this quickie h5 and sacrifice the knight. Now white should be very careful, because white can't capture the knight. Actually, if they capture, we capture with h1. Now we get a beautiful rook file here, and we could able to checkmate on the h5, and also the knight is hanging at the same time. And if they try to protect the knight or save the knight by moving back to e1 square, guess the next move? Yes, queen h4, and with the queen and rook we are going to checkmate on the h5. And even they try to create an escape space. How can I block that at f2 square? Yes, it's g3, locking down the f2 square, and no matter what, we're gonna checkmate either on h2 or h1 with the queen. And this is completely winning for black. Nice little trap. Now our last and the final trap is, once again, it is with the black pieces, but this one is so familiar. I mean, people can see this kind of trap every single day, and every single day so many people also get in this trap. So if you don't know this about this opening trap, make sure you learn it very carefully, and also you might can implement against your opponent with black pieces. So it's starting with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and you can see some Italian stuff here. Bishop c4. Now we're going to play the trump move here. Guess what the move? Yes, we're sacrificing the pawn on e5 by moving the knight to d4, and we are offering this free pawn on e5. And now, if they capture, which is the mistake, by the way, the best move should have been captured the knight instead of the pawn. Now, if they capture on the e5 pawn, now we can play queen to g5, attacks the knight, and attacks the pawn on g2. And if they're so greedy and capture the next pawn on f7 with the help of the bishop, white is like, you can't capture because my bishop is spreading. Now what are you gonna do? I'm attacking your queen and the rook at the same time. But you're gonna simply slide our queen down to the g2 square and take the pawn with attacks the rook. Now the rook is not going anywhere, so white might just simply think, okay, I'm just moving my rook to a safe square. Now what are you gonna do? Your rook is hanging. But guess what? The queen is not only attack the rook, but also the pawn on e4. On the e4 square, pardon me. Pawn on e4 with on the central square. And now after queen takes c4, now bishop to e2 and knight f3 is a beautiful checkmate. It's a very, very devastating trap with the black pieces. On the other hand, if queen tries to block it, of course we can capture the queen and the king in the next few moves. So after bishop e2, we can see a beautiful checkmate on the board. Now that's it, and we have completed this this opening trap with the final series. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you enjoyed it, consider to subscribe this channel and click on the notification bell, and I'll catch you with the next video. See you. Goodbye.